Musk saying we figured out a way to boost the profit margins and sell more cars. You just saw the after hours numbers just go way up, and that carried over into the day, and Tesla had its best day in years. And that is an investment community that already trusts Musk, and they trusted what he said, which we know is sometimes hard to do, but they really trusted his financial numbers, and that sent the stock soaring.
Hi, and welcome to the Silicon Insider Podcast. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Mike. Hello.
It's been a little kind of an intermittent last month and a half, but I think we're back on schedule again. And just in time, I'm not going to do much economic stuff. We've been doing too much of that stuff. And we got the elections coming up and the economy, who knows what's going to happen right now. So anyway, the big news, I think, is Apple now. Apple's coming out into the limelight. Next week, they have, quote, a week of announcements, unquote. And their senior VP of worldwide marketing, Greg Joswiak, said, "Mac your calendars." So apparently, they're going to introduce the new iMacs. That's going to happen next week. Starting on Monday, they kick off with the Apple Intelligence, which they've been only Apple could get away with dribbling out this product over the course of 6 months, because they know that real Apple fans will wait. They'll bitch and complain about it, how it's taking so long, but they'll stick around. I think if any other company tried this, people would walk away saying, you're insulting us, but not Apple. Okay, so we got the new iMacs coming out. It's long been rumored that they're going to be M4 powered 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros and iMacs. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, I think the key to the next week for Apple is going to be trying to convince people to upgrade both their computers, their laptops, and especially their phones because of this Apple Intelligence, which Apple is not only positioning as the next big thing in how you interact with your devices, whatever size screen you have, but also a real reason to upgrade and sort of refurbish the iPhone line. They sell a ton of iPhones still, but there hasn't really been a need to upgrade. And I think they want to put that back in people's feelings like, okay, we've got to get either a high-end 15 or a 16, because that's the kind of phone that's going to get the new AI, whether it's the Apple Intelligence, along with the ChatGPT from OpenAI. And so I imagine with the Mac and the phones, this week will be all about, or next week will be all about sort of updating your Apple devices and trying to convince us to do just that.
They've already introduced one product in the last couple of days, which is the iPad Mini 7. Now, it actually has the intelligence on board, apparently. I've seen some reviews. Most are very positive. I've seen a few that are kind of nothing new. We've seen all this before. It's a pretty upgrade, but that's about it. But I mean, it's a hint. They're putting that intelligence in everything as fast as they can. Any thoughts on the Mini?
I mean, the Mini has been around, and this is an update. I think that the real big push is what you just said. They're trying to put this Apple Intelligence on all of their devices. This is, frankly, I think, Apple's long-term plan against Google. After all, Google is the search leader. Microsoft has made a big move back in search with Bing, thanks to AI. Does Apple come up with the search engine, or is its long-term play here to say, look, search as we've known it is dead. It's going to be talking to and communicating with your screens and the AI that's built in. And so you won't really need a search engine, certainly not a search bar. All you'll have to do is ask, whether it's OK Google or OpenAI or Hey Siri or whatever it is. Just ask your screen, get what you want, find things instantly. And that Apple is hoping, I think, will be the big move in consumer/search.
Well, and that argues that maybe the iPad is a more important product than it's ever been. If do you need an iMac if you're talking to the machine?
Well,
You know,
that's been the question for people that do use their iPads heavily is, do I really need a laptop of any kind? And it's a good question because think about when laptops came out, all of a sudden, whoa, you can actually travel with a computer. I realize that's kind of quaint to say now, but boy, have iPads, especially the mini, really transformed that because you can travel with so much less weight and so much less bulk. And the tablet revolution, which has pretty much been Apple's iPad revolution, has really changed things and has, in a lot of ways, for a lot of people, made the laptop just not necessary.
yeah, superfluous. I mean, my oldest son is making a living working off an iPad on Instagram and writing for websites. Um, I have to say, I remember the old days of portable computers. I remember going through airports with portable computers, and it was agony. But I have to say, I've been running through airports, major airports in the last week with my laptop, my iPad in my briefcase, and it gets kind of heavy too. I mean, there's a lot to be said. I'm with the guy who's just using his phone, his iPhone, and he's talking to Chat GPT, and he's getting massive amounts of information and everything else. And it's like, wow, maybe that's the way to go from now on.
Yeah, I think that's what Apple is hoping, that you won't need more than a phone to do search. And, the iPad, I remember when the iPad first came out and I thought this is clever and convenient and light and powerful up to a point. But I think it's
Yeah.
exceeded even what many of us thought it would. I mean, this really became a device like for your son, for creators, but also for consumers, those of us who like to read, watch movies, just all these things. It's a good size screen. It does a ton of stuff. And if that also is answering your questions and allowing you to use AI, I agree. I think it becomes a more important device in your arsenal.
I should mention that it's got the A17 Pro chip, which will enable it to run intelligence, and it's supporting the Pencil Pro. So it seems to be a nice little device. I'll be curious. It might be another flagship project. It's always the iPad has always been kind of in the background periphery to the big stuff. Okay, Apple Intelligence now is expanded in iOS 18.2 developer beta, if anybody wants to go look at it. And it's now got Genmoji, which seems the most puerile thing I've ever heard of. Oh, make your own emojis with your friends' faces. If I was 12, that would be the greatest thing in the world. Visual intelligence and Chat GPT. So they're starting to pour stuff. Oh, Image Playground and some other things. They're pouring that now into what we've been waiting for. I remember a month ago asking you about the new Apple Intelligence, and you were saying, same old, same old. Everybody else is doing the same thing. Is this better for you?
Well, we don't know yet. Remember, they haven't put it on consumer devices yet. I've seen a little bit of it, and okay, again, I'm not leading I'm not carrying the flag for the AI on our devices revolution. I can see how it can help in a lot of ways, but some of these chatbots can be dangerous too and faulty. And I'm waiting to see this in the hands of millions and millions of iPhone users. And Samsung is also doing it on the Android side with some of its very impressive phones. So we are close to having a big AI moment. But will it be a long-lasting AI moment, or will it just be another way to say, okay, Google, tell me this, or hey, Siri, look up that? I just don't know.
Right. Image Playground, kind of interesting. One of my Eagle Scouts a couple of years ago put up an exhibit at the Sunnyvale Historical Museum where kids could draw pictures, or adults, and then it would clean it up into a masterpiece. And I guess that's now migrated to Apple Intelligence. It will help you improve your writing. Apparently, you can now say, make it lyrical, put it in iambic pentameter. Though I think most people just be content, like, make it readable and
Right.
comprehensible. But it will apparently do a pretty good job of cleaning up your writing. Um, and that particularly is the case with the new iPhone with intelligence. Apparently, you're going to be able to look at things and ask questions about what it is. So if you're going through a town and you say, "What's that building?" with your phone, it will tell you what it is, which is kind of what we've always wanted from like a tour guide or something like that, a magic box. So it's a very interesting note. Um, and a Gamoji. Okay. So, the image wand is going to be available too, apparently this week.
Nobody wants a wand, Michael.
Nobody wants the wand. Uh, are we still on? I don't have a picture.
I'm still here. I see
Okay,
you.
well, let's keep talking.
Stop waving your wand around and we'll be all right.
Yeah, waving the wand around. All right, let's go to the next topic. Yeah, I'm getting a launch meeting. All right. Okay, so that's Apple. What do you think about, is this a major move that's going to be transformative for Apple? I mean, how do you improve what you've already got? You got one of the most important companies on the planet. Is this enough to take Apple to the next step? Because I'm beginning to hear grumbling like, yeah, upgrades, me too, AI. Come on, Apple, when are you going to introduce something new? And on top of that, we have this little announcement that Apple is significantly reducing its Vision Pro production, with the current version being completely discontinued by the end of the year, and it's unlikely, according to the Apple's suppliers of components, that it's going to reduce the production to almost zero, maybe kill the whole line. Well,
yeah, I think that
was supposed to
qualifies.
be a big deal. I remember we covered it when it first came out, and the early users were saying this is great, but someone were saying after a while they were getting headaches and that sort of thing. Are goggles ever going to really work? Do they really fit with the human eye and the brain?
I think it's a fair question because my take on that is no, we're not meant to do that, nor are we comfortable doing that. I'd call the Vision Pro, I mean, it's one step away from a total flop. I think it's a failure to launch. It
Yep.
didn't take off. People didn't buy it. I never saw them in the wild, never saw them on airplanes. And I do look for this stuff. I know very few people who actually shelled out the 2,000 plus to get it. And that was even in the early stages. It just never took off. I think Meta is a little further along in making these VR and AR things look like, pretty cool glasses. And that may be where it's at because people are used to wearing glasses, especially sunglasses and regular prescription
Well,
glasses.
and I think choosing a Ray-Ban
Ray-Ban is a great choice.
the iconic sunglass, and then you
Right.
put intelligence in it. That's an interesting idea.
It's an idea. Again, do we want to get our intelligence from our glasses, from something we wear on our head, whether or not we're used to wearing shades or prescription glasses or not? I don't know. I think the phone is where it's at. People like their wearables. But I have tried the Meta Ray-Bans, and I'm impressed by them. And when you're not actually using them, if they're just sitting there, you don't notice them because we're all used to glasses, whether prescription glasses or sunglasses.
Yeah.
So they feel fine. And I think that may be where this goes. I just don't know who it's going to go with, who needs this. And especially with the Oculus type stuff, I think there's a reason that that's a niche for gamers and maybe people who want to, sort of preview a vacation spot or something like that. But the Apple idea was it was an idea, I think, looking for a market. And I just don't know that that market is there yet.
Yeah, when the original EVs came out, the Priuses and all that, they weren't cool. And a lot of people resisted buying these little boxy things until Tesla came out with a good looking car. And all of a sudden, okay, now I'll buy one because I don't look like I don't look like a hobbit. I've got a cool car. And you think about it, Ray-Ban Wayfarers are Buddy Holly and the famous picture of JFK at the Yankees game and is Tom Cruise in Risky Business. I mean, they're so iconic that it's almost, you would almost buy one just for the look. And I think that's a real good lesson to tech companies trying to do consumer products, that if you're not going to be cool looking, you're not going to be that successful.
Right. I remember that Wired magazine thing with Brad Pitt on the cover, and it had one of those early headphones that have since morphed into the AirPods, and it said even Brad Pitt can't make this look cool. And there is something to be said for that. We're just not comfortable with certain things, and we are comfortable putting certain things certain places. And even Apple can take some time to figure that out, apparently.
I didn't mention, but talking about consumer electronics, the other thing Apple's going to show next week is how to turn the AirPods into hearing aids. I think that's a profound invention, because I've had a lot of relatives that have gone deaf, and they don't put in hearing aids because they think it looks ugly and it makes them look old, and they can't control the sound very well. And now you got something that you see all the time, people walking around with AirPods, and now are you listening to Ray J, or are you actually needing a hearing aid? You can't tell. It's Apple, and it looks great. I think that's going to be a transformative product that's going to surprise us all. Okay. Tesla, before we run out of time, we got to roll fast. Tesla had its best day in over a decade earlier this week. Apparently, the stock soared 20%, putting the stock on a pace for its best day in almost 11 years after a better than expected earnings report. I think people thought that Tesla was on a slow slide because they were getting competition from China. People were kind of hesitating about buying electric cars because of, the government was supposed to build 8,000 charging stations, and they built 8. There was a lot of concern. And now Elon's predicting 20 to 30% growth next year. I mean, the market went crazy. They've been wanting this. They haven't had a lot of really good news, and this did it. What do you think? Can he actually?
I was listening to the call. Yeah, I was listening to the call as it happened with sort of one eye on the after-hour stock chart. And when he said that they have figured out a way to make more money per car, and this is at a time when the competitors, who are legitimate competitors, are still losing money for every car they sell. Yeah. But Musk saying we figured out a way to boost the profit margins and sell more cars. You just saw the after hours numbers just go way up, and that carried over into the day, and Tesla had its best day in years. And that is an investment community that already trusts Musk, and they trusted what he said, which we know is sometimes hard to do, but they really trusted his financial numbers, and that sent the stock soaring. Because you can have competition, and that's good, especially for I love to see more EVs out there. But look, the top 3 EVs are the Y, the 3, and the Cybertruck. Those are the top 3 EV sellers in America. All the competitors are looking for 4th place. And that's pretty impressive, considering that one of those is the Cybertruck. And so if you can somehow squeeze more revenue from each car, Tesla's bottom line is just going to get better and better. And investors love to see that. And this is all of a sudden, at least for a day, become a growth stock again.
Yeah, no, Tesla's, the big planet and everything else or the big number and everything else is just rounding error. They're almost like debris around Jupiter or something. It'd be nice actually to see another good competitor arise to really challenge Tesla, right, to keep being innovative. Okay, real quick. I think the most important product being introduced this month is actually from Google. And that's they've added AI into Google Photos, and you'll be able to look at something and it will tell you whether that image is real or AI. I think that's the greatest filter I've heard of in a long time, because we are increasingly living in a world where you can't distinguish between the two. And to be able to have something in your hand that you could point it anything you see, any image you see on TV or on your computer or anything else, and it says fake. That's huge. I suspect that's going to be it's going to build a lot of love for Google because they're providing that. So I think that's very cool. Finally, you know what the hottest AI stock is right now? Any idea?
I mean, Nvidia's at all-time highs, but
Yes, but in terms of software sales and making revenues coming off of using AI, which company?
I don't know.
Palantir.
Okay.
The dark empire.
They've had a good run.
They've had a heck of a run. One of the top performing AI software stocks this year with 156% return on investment based on their artificial intelligence platform they released last year. So that's, every time you think about technology companies, you always got to throw in Palantir because they're doing stuff that, well, they're doing all black box stuff, so we have no idea, but they basically have a giant cash pipeline from the federal government. So, well, bully for them, good for America.
Yeah. Government contracts always keep you in business.
Finally, real quick, mortgage rates is my only economic thing. Mortgage rates have climbed for the fourth consecutive week. Now they're 6.54. The Boeing workers, I don't know what the hell they're thinking. They just voted to reject the latest Boeing contract offer, to extend their now 6-week-long strike. Boeing is dying. Even the union leaders have accepted the contract, but the rank and file, they're going for blood. They want a 35% wage over 4 years. They're going to get that. But they want a more defined pension plan. So let's see if they get their pension after Boeing bankrupts. And that's it for now, folks. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can see Scott on Facebook and X, and of course, every weeknight on NBC Bay Area. And you can hear me regularly on the BBC World Radio show Business Matters. Have a great weekend and a happy Halloween. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.